Hello, my name is Dale Keefe, and this video will serve as the installation and maintenance guide for a VIP Website 7.0. This video will have three different parts. The first part will discuss installing the tools necessary to get a local copy of the web application installed on your local computer. The second part of this video will cover getting the web application actually running on your local computer once you've installed those tools. And the third part will cover how to install the application on the dev server and production server. There are three main tools that need to be installed in order to get a copy of the web application running locally on your computer. The first one is Node.js. You can install whatever the most current release is using this button right here. So just install it on your local machine and get it up and running on your local machine, and we can work from there as far as getting the web application installed. The second tool is MongoDB. You can download the MongoDB Community Server Edition right here and onto your local machine. Just make sure that the version is higher than 3.4. This version is 3.6, so it should be fine, but we had a bit of trouble this semester with some versions that were much older. They were causing problems with some of the new features that we added in this version. And finally, if your computer does not already have it, just install Git so you can work with the repository once you have it up and running. And after you install these three tools, you can clone or download a copy of our current code from the GitHub repository. Your project owner should have given the link to you, but once you get that link, you can either clone this link right here using the git clone command in your terminal, or download a zip file. Either way will do to get a copy of the most recent code onto your local machine to use as a starting point. Once you have those tools up and running on your local machine, you're going to want to install the application using the install script. There's an install script for Linux and Mac and a separate one for Windows. Use whichever one your local operating system supports. So you can either use the install.sh file or the install.bat file by simply typing down here install.sh for me because I'm on a Mac, or you can use install.bat if you're on Windows. Just let the script run, and once it's all set up, it will install all the dependencies and all the other packages that need to be installed in order for the application to run locally on your computer. After you're done with that script, you're going to want to take a look at a few files. I have the config file open here, so just make sure the config file for your local machine is set up at port 3000, which it is right here. Your database path is set to localhost and port 27017, and the security is disabled because we don't have certificates on our local machine, and the secret is set to this. This is also listed in the installation guide if you were to forget. So just make sure the config file looks like this for your local setup, and same thing, just check a couple things down here with the server file. Again, make sure your host is set to localhost and your protocol is set to HTTP instead of HTTPS, because again, we don't have SSL certificates for your local machine. There's one more part that you're going to want to definitely take a look at if you're first starting out on this project, and that is you probably want to be set up with a pretty simple database, so you don't have to start the database from scratch, and you don't want to copy the production database because that has real data, real people's email addresses, real people's IDs, etc. So what you can do is you can go into the dev server, and your product owner will give you the credentials for that, and you can copy the database from the dev server, and I will put the path here on the screen so you know which directory to copy all the files and folders from. So basically, you're going to want to take everything from the path on the screen. You're going to want to take all the contents from the folder at that path, put it in a single folder on your machine, and then you can run your local DB instance from that folder.
So now that we have the config file and the server.js file configured to run locally, we can now run the web application. the first thing you're going to want to do is start up an instance of mongodb using this command right here. Again, I stored the DB files from the dev server in a folder on my computer, and I specify the full path to that folder in this command. And I'm going to execute this command by pressing enter. Always run the MongoDB instance before running the server. So if I press enter here, okay, it looks like the database is running. I'm going to switch over to my second terminal window, and I'm going to run the node server.js command because that's the name of our server file. If I press enter here, wait for the server to run. Okay, it should be running. If I slide back over here to my browser and I type in localhost:3000, and there's the local instance of the web application running. Let me just verify that the database is in fact working by clicking on the projects, and if the projects load, everything should be all set, and here are the projects. So you can now begin exploring the local instance of the web application and making your changes. So that is the last step to get the web application running locally on your computer. The next portion of the video will cover the configuration needed to get the website running on the development server as well as the production server.
To use either the production or to use the development server, several files have to be modified, and the code folder has to be copied to the correct location on the server. So right now I will go through which files need to be modified, and I'm not going to show the files being copied to the server in the video, but I will indicate where they need to go and which files need to be copied. And I encourage you to look at the installation and maintenance guide in the final document for details about where what exactly needs to be copied and where it needs to go should you be confused. So the first file we're going to modify for production or dev environment usage is the config file right here. So this is how it's set up for the local environment as we previously discussed, and for the development environment we're going to set it up with external port 443 rather than 3000. We're going to keep our MongoDB path the same because the MongoDB will be locally hosted on the server, so we should not have to change that. We're going to update this to true, and because we're going to be using HTTPS and SSL certificates on the dev server as well as the production server. The secret can remain the same as well for the development and the production server. The next file we're going to need to modify a little bit to get it to work on our development or production server is the auth.js file. So we're going to open this up, and basically what we need to do is we need to comment this first callback URL line out and uncomment this one. We just commented out the localhost line and commented in or put back in the production URL or the development URL. Again, if you're running the development environment, you're going to change vip.fiu.edu to vip-dev.cis.fiu.edu, and everything else should remain the same. So I'll go ahead and move on to the next file, which is server.js. We looked at this file a little bit earlier. If we find it down here, we're going to change this protocol to HTTPS because, again, we're going to be using SSL and certificates, and we're also going to change our host. It's obviously not going to be localhost anymore. It's going to be, again, either vip-dev.cis.fiu.edu or vip.fiu.edu for the production server. Note the dev server has CIS in the URL and the production server does not. So note that distinction. Now all you have to do is copy the entire code folder right here to the VIP-final directory on either the development or the production server. Before copying the code folder, do not forget to stop the web server with the sudo forever stopall command, and I will put that on the screen here. It is very important that you copy it to that directory and that directory only, because the cron job to renew the SSL certificates automatically uses that folder and that directory to automatically renew those certificates. So make sure you copy the code folder and the entire code folder into the VIP-final directory in either the dev server or the production server. I will put the path of that on the screen. Finally, once the code folder is copied to either the production server or the development server, these three commands need to be run, and these are also in the installation guide inside the final document, to copy the certificates that were generated from the cron job over to the deployment folder so that they may be attached to the website. So just run these commands every time you copy a new version of the code folder over to either the production server or the development server. Otherwise, the lock symbol will not show up for the website, and the website will not be secure. Finally, assuming that the website is still stopped from when you copied the server or the new code folder to the development or production server, you can run this command to start up MongoDB, just in case it doesn't start up automatically when you start the server, and then start this command to start the server up. If all goes well, you should be able to go to either the development server or the production server, and the website will load up and the projects will show up, which means the database is working correctly. So let's just browse over to the dev site right now, vip-dev.cis.fiu.edu, and it is running, and we can view the projects, which means the MongoDB database is operational. And again, it works the same way with the production server. And we know the SSL certificate is also working because we see the green lock with the secure symbol here. This concludes the installation guide for the VIP website version 7.0. I once again encourage you to look at the installation guide inside the final document. There are much more details there, and even some troubleshooting steps in case you run into problems. Thank you very much.